So we're using yellow, green, and white paint, and we want to know how many quarts of green paint we need out of a total of 12 quarts of paint that we'll be using. So I'm thinking I need to know what fraction of the total is green. For example, if I know that the green has to be half of the total paint, then I would say the answer is we need 6 quarts of green because 6 is half of 12. If I knew that the fraction of green out of the total needs to be a quarter, then I'd say we need 3 quarts of green because 3 is a quarter of 12. So looking at the statements, I can see that statement 1 does allow me to infer what fraction of the total the green needs to be. And I can see that very clearly because I use ratio tables a lot. And if you're not yet in the habit of using ratio tables, I suggest you start getting into that habit, because you see with a ratio table you just say that green to yellow plus white is 1 to 3 for a total of 4 ratio units, and now we can see that, yep, green is a quarter of the total, and therefore we would need exactly 3 quarts of green. So statement 1 is sufficient on its own, and we can go ahead and eliminate the answer choices that claim that it's not. So B, C, E are gone, and we're down to A or D. Let's evaluate statement 2 right after the intro. So I think statement 2 looks a lot like statement 1 at first glance, and I think a lot of people would probably just think that if statement 1 is sufficient on its own, then statement 2 must also be sufficient on its own, and vice versa. If 1 is not sufficient on its own, 2 is probably also not sufficient on its own, just because the statements seem so similar in terms of the type of information that they're providing. But if you take a closer look at statement 2, we actually can't infer what fraction of the total is green. We know here the ratio of yellow to green, but since we don't know anything about white, we can't tell what fraction of the total amount of paint needs to be green, and therefore this statement is not sufficient on its own, and the correct answer is A. If you found this video useful, go to quantreasoning.com for a lot more where that came from. You should also click that like button and let me know in the comments below what you'd like me to make future videos about. And of course, if you haven't yet subscribed, go ahead and do that and click that bell below so you get notified about future videos. See you next time.